Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squad for boxing news and views from around the internet. After resisting taking pot shots at Anthony Joshua and his promoter Eddie Hearn for the past, 3 weeks or so, the bronze bomber Deontay Wilder has stirred into life again like a grizzled bear and lashed out on social media at the Brit. But what's got him so riled? Let's step through that, Anthony Joshua's recent statements, and the fact Anthony Joshua is now in the USA. What does that mean? Well, it could mean that we're very close to a fight announcement. More on that soon. So let's start with Wilder's social media activities. So posting to his different social media platforms this post saying, you see people talk the good talk, but are not ready nor mentally prepared to walk through the valley of the shadow of death, to come and get it. He said once he went to hell and back and he enjoyed it. No, either the devil wasn't there or he lying. So you can go to hell and back and #enjoy it, but you can't come and get this money in that bag to store it. Now these are just my thoughts, maybe yours too, but you can tag him #I'm eating meat or #I'm eating steak. It's a picture of a piece of meat there. So here is the video that accompanied that message.
I'll take 50 million up front. If that's the case, Wilder's team, bring me 50 million up front and we'll take the fight. Wilder's team, bring me 50 million up front and we'll take the fight. Bring me 50 million up front and we'll take the fight. Bring me 50 million up front and we'll take the fight.
So Deontay Wilder clearly wanting to use Joshua's words against him. Said he'd take 50 million. He says he's got 50 million in the bag ready for Joshua. Why doesn't he want that money? So that's been a general theme from Deontay Wilder for the past month or so. But that scathing post from Wilder, it comes after Joshua made some rather bullish comments at a meet and greet in Wales.
He's kind of said, all right, cool, come and fight me in America. But the thing is with that, number one, as I said, I owe it to the fans and everyone that's been supporting me to do it here. And number two, if I go there, there's a lot of tricks that they play in terms of referees and judges. And that's why I want to be at home where I'm secure. So luckily, we've got enough time to make the fight happen, and we're working on it. We've just sent another draft email over to him, and it's just the technical jargon that we're going through right now. I ain't got nothing to lose, and I'm gonna rain down hell on him. I'm gonna fuck him up bad. I'm gonna fuck him up. I'll go to, you've seen it, I can definitely go to hell and back, and I enjoy it there as well, so this time I'm gonna own it. We're big hitters, so for sure, I'm going to be throwing a lot of combination punches, and it'll be interesting. I think he'll be trying to pick punches. I'll just be coming forward and swinging a lot of combinations, and just trying to catch him and hurt him early on.
There's definitely some fighting talk from Anthony Joshua there, and the rhetoric, it is way up a notch from where it normally is, his normal media-friendly comments that he makes. So more on my thoughts on that soon. And we've also had, just consider this, chairman of Matchroom Barry Hearn. He's been out in the media in recent days saying a deal needs to happen pronto or they move on. We've had his son Eddie Hearn, who's Joshua's promoter, confirming on Twitter and social media in general, Wilder Joshua, it will be in the UK, it won't be in the States. That's Wilder Joshua 1. We're presuming that there could be a second fight, but Joshua, he wants to fight in the UK, and Eddie Hearn has confirmed if it happens in the UK. So if we look at this and take a half a step back here, we've got this increasing trail of breadcrumbs. And then you top that off with the fact that Anthony Joshua's posted to social media that he's landed in the United States. And given that Joshua said in the meet and greet clip that we saw earlier that they are down to the technical details, you'd have to imagine that he potentially could have jumped the pond to be involved in the final stages of negotiation. It sounded from his words that they were close to a deal. And we know that Joshua is heavily involved in all fight-related matters. He has the final say on a number of things. He's heavily involved and heavily consulted. I mean, for all we know, Joshua could well have a number of business commitments to fulfill, and the timing's a coincidence. But, I mean, you have to say, given what's been happening in recent days, where we're at with negotiations, that would seem to be a little bit too coincidental. I'm sure he'll potentially have some business commitments while he's there, but you would have to consider that after this quiet patch, 3-week quiet patch in negotiations, with things all of a sudden having ramped up, the Hearns in the media, Joshua talking things up, big talk, and now Wilder responding with a challenging taunt, and then AJ arrives in America, that we're getting close. It feels structured. It feels like it's designed to build momentum in the lead up to a fight announcement. And that could just be days away. We have to wait and see on that. I mean, I noted earlier that there has been a change in Joshua's rhetoric. Some very forceful language. Talking about how he will fuck Wilder up. He'll come forward, be throwing combinations, etc. That screams to me that he's trying to get people really invested in this fight, trying to signal that it's coming. It sounds like hype. He's selling the fight, selling the dream of what he might be able to do. But, from what he says he will do to what could happen, they could be two different things. Because we heard a lot of big talk about the Joseph Parker fight, Carlos Takam, all that sort of stuff. Anthony Joshua hasn't had an impressive knockout for a couple of fights now. And looking at those past couple of fights, he's been more conservative. He's utilised his boxing ability, his height and reach. He hasn't been wildly reckless, just, going in head first for a KO. I mean, I'd expect to see some of the recent pattern in terms of being more defensively responsible, being a good boxer. I would expect him to carry that into a Wilder fight. And at least for the first few rounds or so, that he'd be trying to size Wilder up before stepping things up. I don't think we're going to see Joshua just coming in trying to walk through Wilder because, he could walk onto a right hand there. But Joshua is right, though. Wilder will be picking his shots. And we've seen that from a number of fights recently, like the Washington and Ortiz fights, where for the first 3 or 4 rounds, he doesn't do too much. He just waits and watches. He's defensively responsible, staying out of harm's way. And those rounds, we've heard boos in different fights. It's been relatively turgid stuff in some of the early going. But Wilder is a patient guy, unorthodox, and he's very dangerous. That right hand is an equalizer. So I'll be interested to hear if this gets made or, if the talk continues, this sort of largesse from Joshua in terms of the rhetoric, how he's going to look to respond to Deontay Wilder, because you'd have to imagine that he will be the aggressor early on in that fight. And he may be, relatively cautious, but he'll probably still be the one that's coming forward. But getting back to the negotiation side of things, we know that Joshua and Eddie Hearn, they've gone back with another offer. Joshua said, we're down to the technical details, sent them another email, so on and so forth. So presumably, if they've come back with a counter offer, it's either going to have to be some sort of percentage deal split, or at the very least, it would have to be a significant advancement on the $12.5 million flat fee that Wilder was initially offered, but not interested in. Because things have gone so quiet recently, and Wilder's co-manager Shelley Finkel just stopped leaking everything to the media, because that's what he was doing on a daily basis for about a week there, it's really hard to gauge where things may have got to behind closed doors with Al Heyman, Eddie Hearn, the negotiating sort of teams, or whoever's been involved. What happened to the $50 million purse that was offered to Joshua? We don't know if that was categorically put to one side and they've just been working on something else. I mean, I said some time ago, it's a hell of a chunk of change, upfront money, to walk away from. I know there's some debate from some fans about, is the money there? Is it really in the bag? Are they just selling Joshua's name? But $50 million upfront guaranteed money, that's a hard deal to walk away from. But I think, a counter-offer would mean Joshua, he wants Matchroom to have control of the promotion. They want to run it in the UK, and they want to do it on their own terms. I mean, they've stated as much. And it seems to be, as this has sort of gone along, they've become more entrenched in that position. But until a deal is signed, I don't think we can rule anything in, anything out. I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe some of it is a bluff. Maybe Las Vegas is still in play. And at this point, nothing would surprise me. This negotiation's been sort of a bit of a roller coaster, but this recent burst of activity, it does suggest that we are getting close now. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. That's boxing_squared. I'm out.